Hi everybody, welcome back to the Super Duty build. Before we get into the fuel tanks in this video, I wanted to talk about something quickly that can affect any builder, and it really hit me about a week ago. And that was just a feeling of being burnt out on working on the airplane. And the best tip I can give you guys, if you are feeling like that at any time during your project, take a break. Now, it could be different periods. It might just be that you've been in a hangar for 8 hours that day and you're really feeling like you just need a break. That is a time to stop. Or it could be you've been working for a month straight on it like I have, and you just feel like you need to get away for a little bit. It doesn't mean, in my case, it doesn't mean that I'm not enjoying the process or I don't enjoy building the airplane. But it's just, what it came down to is working on these wings, it seemed like all I was doing every day was just deburring holes. There's thousands of holes to deburr and drill, and I just got kind of sick of it and burnt out. So what I did was I took a few days, I think 2 days, where I didn't do anything on the airplane. I was still at home and I wasn't at work, so I was in a hangar, but I just found myself doing things like sweeping the floor or organizing my toolboxes or straightening up, organizing parts, just doing whatever, but not really working on the airplane. Then after about 2 days, I didn't want to waste my time off, so I wanted to get something done on the airplane, but I really still didn't feel like going back to deburring holes and doing all that stuff. So I started working on these flapper-on, or these are, I guess, the flaps, the flap part of the flapper-ons. But I started building these frames, and I got the little brackets cut and drilled and match drilled to the frame. And then for the other one, you can see I've started getting the pieces primed. So at least I got something done. Now, there's a lot of work yet to do on the flapper-ons, so when it does come to that point, I'll film it and show you how I built these. But it was kind of a nice break to take from the wings to go do something else. And like I said, the biggest tip I can give you guys is if your mind and your body are telling you that you need a break, take a break, whether it's an hour or a day or a week or a month, it doesn't matter. Because if you keep pushing through and keep working when you really know that you shouldn't be, I guarantee you, and I'm talking from experience, you're going to screw something up and it's going to cost you money to replace parts. Well, my little building break is over. I'm super motivated to get back to the wing, so let's get this last fuel sender installed into the fuel tank. All right, guys, I have my fuel tank sitting up on its front edge. I have my hole drilled. I used a fly cutter to do this in a handheld drill. And it's very tricky to do because the top is not completely flat, so the fly cutter will tend to hit in some spots and not other spots. So I did this with a fly cutter and a Dremel and a whole bunch of other tools like a sledgehammer and a chainsaw and an axe to cut this out. So once you have your hole cut out, the idea is to make the hole as small as possible. And the way I test it to see if it fits is I take this ring that's from the fuel sender, and I put the screws in it so they're sticking out. And I just put this in here like this, and you can see mine right now. Let me zoom in for you here. So right now, mine doesn't fit in here. So I need to keep opening up this hole a little bit, which is good because I'd much rather drill a hole that's too small than too big. Now there's a few ways you can open this up. You can use a deburring tool like this, or just keep going around it with sandpaper. But I like to use this tool for, it's a little bit quicker and easier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt this forward so when I go around here, I'm just trying to get as many shavings as I can on the outside of the tank. And I'll just take off a little bit at a time until this almost fits. Let's go around there again. Oh, a little bit more. Oh, almost fits. I'm going to go around again. That's pretty good. I think for now, I'm just going to take some sandpaper. All right, now this will fit in here. This hole is as small as possible to still let this fit. So we can move on to the next step. No matter how careful you are, you're going to get metal shavings in here and aluminum dust. So we do need to flush out the fuel tanks. And in this wing here, the right wing, I had to flush out this fuel tank 4 times to get everything out of it. So I will flush this fuel tank out, and I actually use gasoline to flush it just because I don't want any other liquids in there. So I'll just pour a little bit of gasoline in, swish it around, dump it out until the inside of the tank is clean. I did flush out the fuel tank actually a couple times, but I try to use a paper towel here just to scoop up any other little chips or something that I might find in the tank. Take a good close look in your tank too and make sure there's no shavings that are caught up in the screen or any of the corners of the tank. If you use gasoline to flush your tank, go ahead and use some MEK or some other solvent and really wash around the opening here, because later on we're going to put some sealant on the fuel sender, and if there's any oil from the fuel, it will not stick to the tank. So make sure it is perfectly clean around the hole. What I'm doing here is just scuffing up about 1/4 of an inch around the perimeter of that hole. And again, that's just to get the Pro Seal or the sealant to stick to the tank better. This is what it looks like, just about 1/4 inch around. Just go ahead and scuff it up a little bit. And also when you're done, make sure you clean it again with some alcohol or some other solvent. All right, we have our hole ready to go. We have our fuel sender just about ready to go. One of the things I wanted to show you is on this ring, you can see this little cutout I make on there. And that's just to help you slide it into the wing just a little bit easier. And I do that just by putting it on the corner of the grinder. And I just get a nice little divot in there. Now I know a lot of you are wondering what fuel sender I'm using, because in my cruiser I use the Vans RV fuel senders, and I noticed no difference in quality between the Vans senders and the stock senders from Zenith. In fact, they come with the exact same rings and hardware. They're both made out of the same cheap metal. I just don't think there's any reason to go with the Vans fuel senders. Now I will tell you a problem I had on the cruiser when I built the tanks. You know, like I said, I used the Vans RV senders, and then when I filled the tanks for the first time, what you do is you put a gallon in at a time, and on your Dynon screen you calibrate it. Well, the problem I was having was my fuel senders, you can see are right under this hump right there. The fuel senders weren't moving. So I was putting fuel in, but the floats were not riding on top of the fuel. So I had to actually go in from the filler cap and bend a long piece of aluminum tubing to try to get over there and just work that sender up and down and up and down and up and down to loosen it up. And I had to do that on both wings. I don't know why they got tight and the floats didn't float. They work fine now after I loosened them up. But it's kind of scary. I almost thought I was going to have to rip the fuel senders out of the tanks, but I got that working. And one of the things I like about these Zenith senders are that they seem, just out of the box, they seem to be a lot looser than the Vans RV ones. They move a lot freer. And like I said, they're a little bit different, but they're made out of the same metal. I don't think these are any worse quality than the ones that the Vans RV uses. So I am installing the stock Zenith fuel senders. Now the way this works with these senders is they give you this rubber gasket here that goes on here, and then on the inside of the tank, this ring will go on here, the screws go in, and then it tightens up. And if you think you can install this and have this gasket here prevent leaks, then good luck to you. You'll be ripping your fuel sender out probably very quickly. So what you need to do is you need to go to vansaircraft.com and order some, oh, everybody calls it Pro Seal. I don't know if that's the real name. It's from 3M. And what it is a little tube of, or it's not a, well, a little container of basically fuel tank sealant. And we used to use this stuff on the F-16 to seal the canopy, and it's nasty to work with. And then we actually, after a while, they came out with they call it a dry seal that goes around the bottom of the canopy, that we didn't have to use this anymore. But I used this on my RV7 for the tanks. I used it in the cruiser, and now I'm using it in this Super Duty. I think these are, oh, what did I pay? I think they're about $15. And there's enough here to do both fuel tanks, but I really recommend you buy 2 of them. Use one for one tank, one for the other tank. The reason why is if you mix this up and try to do both tanks at once, you really are going to have to rush before this starts to kind of harden up a little bit. So, you know, you could do both tanks with one of these, but I would suggest you get 2 so you don't have to rush. You just use one for one tank, and then when you're ready, do the other tank and open up another container of this. So anyway, we're going to put this in. We're still going to use this rubber seal, but then you're going to see I'm going to seal everything with this. And one of the things I wanted to point out is, you know, this has this metal contactor that goes through here to read the resistance on this, right? It's basically just a big potentiometer. So where this goes, I know you're not going to be able to see this in the camera here. I'll try to put a picture on the screen. But where this goes through in here, I'm going to put a little bit of that Pro Seal around there just to help prevent any possible leaks from there. And then you'll see I'm going to put Pro Seal all around here. I'll put all around the perimeter and then all around the screws. In fact, you can see that on my right wing tank that is already done. If you look at the right wing here, you can see I have Pro Seal around all the screws. I have it around the perimeter of this and then all the way around the outside. That's the exact same thing I did on the cruiser, and I don't have any leaks on that one, and I'm hoping I don't have any leaks on this one either. Now before we put this in, one of the things I wanted to mention is go ahead and put a little mark with a permanent marker here where the float is, because once this is in the tank, you want to know where to put this. The other thing I'd recommend is before you mix up your Pro Seal and get this all messy, go ahead and put this in and just make sure that it does actually fit inside the hole. On mine, instead of grinding the hole a little bit larger, I actually took a little bit of material off of the edge of this ring to get it in there. So mine fits in there nicely now, so I'll go ahead and mix up that Pro Seal and then we can get this thing installed. What I'm doing here is just spreading a thin layer around the perimeter of the hole, right over that 1/4 inch area that we roughed up with the sandpaper. This is going to be sealant that goes under the rubber gasket that is on the fuel sender. And this is what it looks like after I am done spreading it on the hole. Well, let's get this fuel sender installed into the fuel tank. I'm putting this scribe into one of the holes, and what that does, it just lines up that plate that's on the inside of the tank, because as you tighten this screw, that plate's going to want to move a little bit, and then the screw holes won't be aligned up. So I just keep that in there long enough just to get the screws in. Once a couple screws are in, then you won't need it anymore. And don't forget to add a ground wire to one of your bolts. And again, I'm just putting Pro Seal here around the perimeter of the fuel sender, just in case any fuel happens to leak past that rubber gasket. Hopefully the Pro Seal will stop any further leaks. And I'm also going to spread a little bit of around the perimeter of the screws, and then also that white plastic center section on the fuel sender. When I'm done, I like to take a real close look with a flashlight at the Pro Seal, because it is easy to miss a little tiny spot or have a little pinhole or something that's not quite covered with the Pro Seal. So inspect it really good. Well, that's it. It is installed. We'll wait a day for that to dry, and then we will get the tank put into the wing. I got a bunch of things to talk about on the next video. I have fuel lines here from Aircraft Specialty. Guys, I'm telling you right now, if you just go ahead and order these lines, call Aircraft Specialty, tell them you need the lines for the Super Duty that go in the wing. These are so much better than using just the black rubber hose, and it's also so much better than using the solid aluminum lines like I used in my cruiser. So on the next video, I'll talk a little bit more about these lines, and then I'll show you how I cut this access hole into the skin of the airplane. So if I ever do have a problem, I'll just take this access cover off and I'll be able to get to the fuel senders. This wing is already here. The fuel line is somewhere hiding in there. It's installed in there. So on the next video, I'll get, I guess, this wing and wing tank caught up to this wing. Also coming up in probably the video after that is, as you guys probably know, I'm going with Dynon again for this, this airplane. So I ordered the Dynon pitot tube and their install kit and all that kind of stuff. So I'll go over installing that. So lots of good stuff coming up. I'm excited to get this wing closed up. All I have to do yet on this wing is the plastic wing tip. And this skin is actually ready to rivet on. I just haven't riveted it yet because I may want to put some fuel in the tank, and like where these connections are here, you know, just make sure none of those are leaking. If they're not leaking, then I can rivet this skin on, do the wing tip, and this wing is done for now. This section right here, just like on my cruiser, I'm going to do this after the wings have been fit to the fuselage. So yeah, we're getting there. This thing's going together actually pretty quickly. So that's it. That's how you install a fuel sender. And again, you know, I'm just showing you how I did it. There's many different ways you can do it, and there's many different places you can put this too. So don't just blindly copy what I'm doing. I really suggest that you guys think about what you want to do. I put a lot of thought into where this is located. Everything from it being in a position so it fits under the skin so I don't have to have a dome on it, to, don't forget, there's a big channel like an inverted V that goes all the way across here that's a stiffener. So if you have this too far down, it won't fit because of that. So it does take a lot of thought on where you put your senders. Or, you know, you can put them right here. This is where the factory puts them. You can put them there if you want. All right, enough rambling for me. I'm gonna take a break, eat some lunch, hit the gym, come back, and then maybe get this tank installed while that fuel sender is drying.